Hi, welcome back to episode 2 of Two Coaches, One Couch. My name is Kathy O'Reilly. I'm a personal development coach, and today we're going to have a look at awareness. So, Siobhan,
Hi, I'm Siobhan. Welcome back to episode 2. I am a life and recovery coach, and yeah, we're going to talk about awareness today, Kathy.
where?
What
So, I
is
suppose, what does it bring up for you, Siobhan, when you think about awareness? What does it actually bring up for you? I mean, we're looking at awareness as in where we are now and how we have developed this sort of self-awareness piece.
Mm. I suppose layman's term, what awareness is, it's the ability to notice
Mm,
without judging it, I would say. So
mm,
whether it's a thought or a feeling or a behavior, you're able to be consciously present in
mm,
that moment and think, I'm feeling this, or I'm aware that I'm doing something. So you're noticing me
mm,
and being consciously aware, like
mm,
awake kind of thing in that moment and thinking, yeah, I'm feeling that. But
mm.
observing it, not actually being entangled in.
I think you mentioned before, actually, which was a very interesting way of looking at it, that you like to observe but not absorb,
Mm,
which is a
mm,
very good thing, isn't it? I mean, like if you take it on board that you're observing the world around you, you're taking in everything that you see and that you hear, and the people around you and how they are with you and how you are with them and how you're responding to people as opposed to reacting to people. All of that becomes your journey in self awareness, but
mm.
not to absorb it so that you become overwhelmed.
Of course, yeah. And that's a really
Mm,
important piece because
mm,
you can become really
mm,
overwhelmed and absorbed in, if you're sensitive or if you've
mm,
got,
mm,
you're in an environment that you're feeling everything, then it's really
mm,
important to notice what is actually yours and what you might be picking up on or, like you say, absorbing,
mm,
you
mm,
know.
mm.
So what would it mean for you? Like, what does awareness mean?
Well,
Like, how would you kind of begin to
mm.
show the audience, let's say, like how you can become, like how to start noticing, or what does it mean for you?
For me, awareness is really about looking at where you are now, for example. Even if you're in a position today out there and you're thinking, what does awareness mean? What does it look like for you? My beginning, I'm going to go back to the beginning of my awareness journey.
Brilliant.
And for me, I would have said that I was probably the rat on the wheel, that kind of just doing, 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 not thinking, not asking myself, did it suit me? Was I okay with this? Did I have a voice in it? And a lot of that would have come from my own background and my childhood.
Mm,
So I will bring this in straight away because sometimes on the awareness journey, we have to look back at what it was like for us as children. And if we can get back to that place of what life was like when we were children, we'll know how we were in that environment then. So if you came from a family that was a little chaotic, I'm not talking about outrageously chaotic, but a little chaotic. Like for us, there were 6 children in the family. We always had elderly people living with us. As I always say, we carried a couple of geriatrics all our lives with us as well. They would have been my mother's people. So
mm,
it was a very, very busy, noisy home.
mm,
And for me, it was about just survival, really, in that. So as I got older and as I left there and started to make my way in the world, I really was living out of a place of just being sort of pulled and dragged into all kinds of energies without knowing who I was myself and all of that. So
mm.
for me, I always like to look at a self awareness journey as in what was it like in the very, very beginning?
Okay.
Where did it start? And to find your voice and to hear yourself for the first time, having your own views and your own sort of values being heard in yourself. That's the beginning of really looking at your actual awareness of who you are in the world, for
Mm.
me.
Yeah, it's beautiful, Kathy. And where would you say, so if you, so your conditioning, let's say, so how you were
Hmm.
taught, what
Hmm.
you learned to do, when was it the first time that you thought, oh, you became aware that that maybe isn't how you want to do something, or
Hmm.
that isn't necessarily your go-to, although you've been taught to do that. So how did you first notice yourself to become more aware, if that makes
Hmm.
sense?
But I suppose we all talk about people pleasing now as a personality type, people pleasing. So I would have been a people pleaser. And I think it's so common. This is something that I hear a lot in my room, and I know that you do with your clients too, that it's about the people pleasing part of us. That we actually get to a place where one day we realize, just maybe in a moment, I can't do that. That doesn't feel right. I'm tired of pleasing. This is wrong. I'm being taken completely for granted here. And in that
Mm.
moment, it may be momentary, but even in that moment, it's like, oh, it's a kind of an aha moment, thinking,
Yeah.
I can actually say no.
Yeah,
So for
yeah.
me, the people pleasing part was the one that I had to get over. And I think it's so, so, so common. And
Mm.
it takes a lot of practice and it takes time in your journey of awareness to be able to stand back from a position that you've been finding yourself forever in and saying, I actually can say no here.
Yeah, it's beautiful. I think as well, when you look like at how to start, so say for people pleasing, for
Mm,
example. So you have moments of like you're not consciously doing something. So say in
mm,
school, you go to school, okay, today we've got maths, we're going to get out a notebook. So you're kind of just on autopilot doing, right? So there's a moment that you think, it's just a thought though, right? So it's a thought, I don't really like this, I don't know what to do. So it's actually being aware then to ask for help. So using your voice in those moments that you don't
mm,
necessarily know what to, because you've been given. So you said there you conditioned your environment, you were always just, so the moment that you stop, let's say, to gain that kind of
mm,
breakage of people pleasing or using your voice is the moment that you become aware and say, I actually don't know how to do this, or I don't know what to do here, So you're bringing it's in the moment for yourself and feeling it and noticing it and being able to work from that then.
mm, 100%. And I suppose, like, the thing about self awareness journey is because of social media and because of us in our podcast and people like us that do this work, people have become very, very, very much more aware now than they ever were. They
Mm,
really are. They're way more aware than they were going back, we'll say, 10, 15, 20 years ago. People were just not into this type of thinking.
mm,
They just did what they had to do and they survived. It was a survival method. You're surviving the world,
mm,
surviving your life. But now people are kind of more reflective and they're doing this internal journey where they want more of themselves to be seen,
mm,
heard, accepted, loved, appreciated. And they really are coming into their own. I think it's a huge thing that's happening at the moment, is where people are coming into their own around their journey of awareness.
mm. But it's about understanding themselves as well, because there's all these buzzwords, like you know, self-regulation, these are totally new to people, like you say, because people have just operated from the moment they're born and got on with things,
Mm,
depending on how you brought up, your environment. There's so many factors at play that
mm,
it's now people are like, well, sure, what are you talking about? Or, people just, but
mm,
it's beautiful that people are becoming more aware in how they behave and how they think and how they respond and how they interact with one another, so
mm,
it's really positive, really, really positive.
mm. It is very positive. Yeah, it is. I suppose there's in every positive there's a little negative, isn't there? I mean, in a relationship, sometimes in a relationship with your partner and your lifetime people with you, sometimes if you're on a journey of awareness, and a lot of my clients are women. I deal mainly with women. They're 95% women.
Mhm.
So for me, it's during that, particularly during that menopausal time, they'll start becoming really heightened awareness will come in then around, what am I actually doing here now? And sometimes when they start their journey of awareness, their partner doesn't really catch up with them. So there's a kind of, that's where the conflict and the chaos can come, when the change starts to happen,
Mm.
you
And
know.
when you say their journey of awareness, let's say, are you saying that they're wanting to change something or they're becoming aware of what? Like, break that down a little bit more.
I think they're coming into their own in that they're actually asking everything, things that they would have just taken as roles in life that you play out of. Like we've looked at masks and hats before, the
Mm,
hats we wear, the roles we play, the
mm,
things we have to do because I'm the mother, I'm the wife, I'm the this, I'm that. But like they just wake up one day and they start thinking, I'm done with this. I'm sick of it. There has to be more to life.
yeah.
So that self-inquiry starts. And then they
Mm,
maybe go to the like a shelf and Eason's or whatever, and they'll start buying self-help books, or
mm,
they'll lean out and they'll look for a coach and they'll work with somebody that starts unpacking what's coming up for them. They'll look at their childhood, like we look at our clients, will say childhoods and that. And what happens is they come home and the partner finds it hard because they don't say anything at all wrong. They're happy with the way things are. There's nothing wrong here, like.
mm,
And all of a sudden, she's changing and she's looking for more out of life.
mm. And I suppose that's like everything, once someone, if you spend a lot of time with someone and they start having boundaries, for example, someone
Mm.
who's not used to that doesn't know how to respond to it because they're like, well, what's happening now? Or, or she's in
Mm.
a bad mood. And it's like, no, actually, they've put something in
Mm.
place now that they've become more aware of and they want to change it. And I suppose for people listening out there, to break it down, I always go back to layman's
Yeah.
terms in education. I'm always like breaking it down. Awareness is the starting point, isn't it? To change, to transforming anything. Once you become aware of something, you kind of can't not see it anymore because that's kind of it's like the bones of it, isn't it?
It's the bones of it. Once you see it, you
Mhm.
can't unsee it.
No. And
Mm.
yeah, and I suppose as well, just to mention, like this might be a bit far-fetched now, but when you're aware, if you
Mm.
can observe it and not get too attached to it, I think is really important. So if you're feeling a certain way, I'm probably going completely off track now. But if
Mm.
you're say you've had a past experience, you've been bullied before, right?
Mm.
And that's really, really hurt you. And I know
Mm.
firsthand from that experience.
Mm.
You could go into a workplace then and have a boss who is extremely,
Mm. Mm.
might talk to you in a certain manner, might not be very forthcoming in certain ways. And you remember, oh God, this feels like when I was bullied in school. But if you're able to notice that and then separate, actually, this is now,
Mm.
that was then, and it's not the same. But that's very hard. That's again where you have coaching and where you have different, techniques to kind of work through that. But it's very important to notice it rather than
Mm.
become it.
For sometimes it's so your body reacts so strongly to it, and it is hysterical.
Of
It
course.
is hysterical. It's coming from back there.
Mm,
It's coming from that time in that place where you were rejected, hurt, made little of by somebody. And in that moment, as you mentioned, bullying, in that moment you feel you really have to, there's a sort of the fight and the flight comes through your body.
mm,
You're immediately coming into I'm going to defend myself here.
mm,
And then I suppose through the awareness and the noticing and the work sometimes you may need to do with somebody else. We're not trying to promote ourselves here for business, but we are saying that if you go to a coach or you go to somebody, they can unpack that and they can help you to see it more clearly that it's actually hysterical and you're safe now. But
And
that's the awareness and that's the journey of awareness, isn't it? And noticing.
yeah, absolutely. And he said the most important piece there, Kathy, is that you're safe now.
Yeah.
Like, I think when something pops up like that, you can instantly, depending on how you do react or respond, is like
Mm-hmm.
you freeze, you want to get angry, or however you choose to, it comes up in the body. It's it's about just noticing that, thinking, oh God, I'm getting hot now. So, for example, now if I was asked to speak, which I was last week, and I could feel myself getting really hot before I spoke, and I was like, it's okay, I'm safe, I'm fine, I'm able to articulate this, but I had to coach myself through that moment because I could physically feel it coming on, and my heart started racing. I was getting a bit hot, and I was like, you've got this, it's absolutely fine.
Mm-hmm.
It's not like then, this is the now, and literally coming into the now. And what I find helpful sometimes when I do feel these things come on, I think, oh, there's a white wall. And I point out what is literally in front of me. I'm in the living room right now. I'm on the couch and I come back to basics because I'm like, this is the present moment and I can be aware
Mm-hmm.
right now because that thought that's making my heart pound and making me feel really hot is in the past. And I know it is not that simple to detach straight away,
Mm-hmm.
but it's learning these small little methods that
Mm-hmm.
bring you into the now, becoming more aware that you're actually able to go forward instead of being pulled constantly back. And
Mm-hmm.
again, it takes practice and it's a learning.
Does takes
You know?
practice. I suppose what comes up for me there really when you're saying that, first of all, it's a fantastic thing you've shared there because we all find ourselves at times like, when we really wouldn't have been able to do those things in the past
Mm,
as we'd have been so nervous, so scared of being seen, so embarrassed about our mouths opening and the sound coming out.
mm,
So, like to have come from, to be able to come into a place of saying, I'm getting hot, I'm getting sweaty, my heart is starting to jump here, but I'm safe and I know that I can do these certain techniques to
mm,
help me to bring me back into the present and I will be able to do this. Like that took a long time, didn't it, to get to that place, Siobhan?
of course, yeah. And
Yeah.
like some people, you know, are just so used to doing things, like you said earlier, you condition just you just get on with things, you get on with things, but they still might experience those same fears, the same like, oh God, I don't want to do this, but it can take over people more than others,
Yes.
depending on how you operate. And I think that it's like for me personally, that took a long time because I was very, very quiet as a child, very shy, didn't speak much, just did what I was told and kind of, so it took me ages to kind of work through that, which is why I do what I do because I've learned to do it myself. So I
Mhm. And I suppose that's something I want to stay with now for a minute. So, like, and I would also share with you, and I'm sharing with anybody that's listening today. I was actually the mouse around the house as well, and I came from a place where I didn't have a voice, and I was a good child, and I was very obedient, and I was very compliant. So, I suppose what I'm going to ask you really in this moment, like when you mentioned about what you can do now, how far you've come from that time, like, I mean, isn't it precious to know that you can do that though?
Yeah,
That
it's
you can make that journey, that you've made that journey. That's so powerful because, I think that sometimes when people see people like us doing a podcast or working as coaches and what have you, they think, oh, well, they're just so confident and they were always like that. And that's so not true.
no, 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 no. And it's interesting because there's there's a great liberation that comes when you work through something,
Yeah.
and I'll share this no problem. It's like people who like I used to drink. I gave up drink 4 years ago. I'm in recovery from it, but there's a great confidence that comes from moments that you once would have depended or relied on something. And then when you can get through it, you know, there's a great, it's liberating. And then that propels you forward because you're like, I don't need, I'm okay. I am okay without something that
Of
when you
course.
work through something
Mm-hmm.
or you push past that fear, every time
Mm-hmm.
you do it, you gain a little, oh yeah, it wasn't as bad as I thought. And it gives you an inner strength then and an inner peace because you're like, actually, it wasn't as hard as I thought. And I've created so much weight to it that
Yeah,
actually it's not as bad as it feels. And
mm,
that's so important because
it is.
every time you do challenge it and work through it, and like you just said, like from being a child, I was very similar, Kathy, very shy, didn't ever want to be seen, speak, would never put my hand up in class. And now, like, I am quite confident, but those things can still, Jesus, pull me right back. But again, I'm being aware in the moment of it and thinking, okay, yeah, you've come this far. Come on, keep going, you know? So,
Mm, mm.
yeah.
Yeah, that is just so beautiful, and I think that anyone that's listening today is going to really feel this because those moments, those magical moments of feeling a little different and empowered, whatever that magic moment is,
Mm,
I mean, you can actually be completely addicted to making people like you. You can. It becomes like whatever I do in this world today, I've got to come home this evening and know that people that I met today liked me. That can be an addiction in itself, like just to get through the day without ruffling any feathers, and then the discomfort of sometimes having people that don't like you. That's the beginning of change as well.
yeah, of
And
course.
that discomfort, once you've learned to wear it comfortably, the discomfort of people not liking you and saying, I'm okay with that now,
Mm,
that's the beginning of change for the people pleaser.
absolutely. But
Because they can actually step into their power then, bit by bit. Every piece is another powerful piece, another aha moment of thinking, if somebody is in your sort of friend group or your family, your own family of origin, and you haven't stepped up to them before, and for the first time you did, there's a really powerful piece that happens to you in that moment.
there definitely is. I completely agree because it's almost like you're there for you in that moment. You're there supporting yourself in that moment. And, very often we rely on others for support, but in that moment, it's like, I trusted myself here. And I really believe that actually I don't agree with you. And therefore, I'm going to speak up about it. And that can be really discomforting because you're like, I've never done this before. But there's a liberation that comes, you're like, no,
Yeah,
without
exactly,
being cocky
exactly,
about it. But you're also
exactly.
like, that
Yeah,
wasn't as bad, number one. And number
mm.
two, I vocalized exactly how I felt. And that
Yeah,
wasn't too bad.
yeah, that's it.
But, but just to go back, Kathy, you mentioned like pleasing people and wanting to be liked by others. And this is what I find quite helpful. You meet loads of people all the time. And
Mm.
there's some people that might not just be your cup of tea, right?
Right.
It doesn't mean that you're rude to
Mm.
them or
Mm.
you're nasty to them, but you might not connect with them. And that's okay. So when I look at my own self, then I'm like, I don't need to be liked by everybody because I don't, not that I dislike lots of people, but I might not connect with certain people. And that's life, that's nature. You know, you get on with some people,
Mm,
you might not get on with others. So for anyone who is a chronic people pleaser, know that it's okay not to like other people, you know, or it's
mm,
okay to be disliked. There's a great book, I think it's called, oh, is it The Courage to Be Disliked?
mm,
We can always share that
mm, mm,
to anyone listening. It's a brilliant book because
mm,
it really talks about those principles of, you know, we are all made up very differently. We all come from very different backgrounds.
mm,
And it's very normal not you shouldn't actually need to get along with everybody because you just don't need to,
mm.
you know?
Well, you see, the thing about it is that, and I always say this to anybody that comes to me that has this kind of, I think that like most people will come with some part of that in them anyway, you know.
Mm.
But what I would always say to people that it has its advantages too, though. You know, in everything, because of your noticing and your awareness, whatever you're noticing about yourself, it's going to have a bit of a yin and yang in that, you know. There's going
Mm.
to be, like, for example, me being a people pleaser has made me a phenomenal businesswoman.
Mm.
I have to share that. I've been very successful in business because I've jumped through the loops to make it happen from my people that have worked with me, the people that I've trained, my clients coming through the door, the customer service. So it has brought that part of me has been absolutely advantageous.
Yeah, I completely see that. But I must also say, Kathy, there's a difference in your personality. So you
Mm,
can be charismatic, you can be really likable, which I would
mm,
definitely agree that you are a really likable character. So
mm,
that attracts people, right?
mm,
But
mm,
there's a difference then with pleasing others. Do you know what I mean? It's like
mm,
again,
mm,
there's lots of different layers to it. But I can
mm,
imagine
mm. So
I
I suppose it has its advantages. It's when it starts to compromise yourself.
that's exactly.
That's when it becomes a problem. I mean, at the end of the day, we go out, we do mask up, we do wear our hats, we do have our roles, we do. That's life. But we absolutely have to know when we're being compromised and when we're doing something that is compromising our own personal needs.
Mm,
That's when it's a problem.
of course. And it's also the way I would look at it when you're pleasing other people, not only are you, you know, going against you because you're putting everyone else in front of you,
Mm,
you're also being dishonest. And I think this is really important
mm,
because
mm.
people pleasers are like, oh, and I've been there. I was like you, a prime people pleaser because I didn't really know any other way, is the
Yes,
truth.
yes, of
But
course.
it was being dishonest and I was technically lying because
Mm,
I was putting everyone else in front. It's okay. Yeah, no problem. I can do that. Yeah, okay. Because I did not want to be,
mm,
you know, disliked and I did not want to get it wrong. That was my two things. I did not
mm,
want to get it
mm,
wrong. What would happen if I got it wrong, you know? So, but it was actually being dishonest to somebody else because I was saying something that I could do and actually it wasn't right, you know? So
mm,
that's a really important thing. It's like being honest with you and others. Otherwise it's a disservice, you know,
mm.
and it's not necessarily right, you know.
Mm,
So
that's true. I suppose authenticity is a big word that's been used a lot now, and that's probably that we're trying to come into our true authentic self.
mm,
The journey of awareness, the journey of noticing, the
mm,
true authentic self starting to emerge beautifully, layer by layer, and
mm,
leaving go of all the shackles of shame. We're going to look at all this anyway, you know,
mm,
and we have great plans for our podcast.
yeah.
But
But
this is the time of the year now we're coming into Christmas. So we might just do a little bit of something around this before we finish today. What do you think? Around
About Christmas.
well, the awareness
Wait to
of
sing a song, Kathy.
how do we stay in a place of being completely aware around this time of the year? This is our time.
Well, I suppose people, obviously, it's Christmas time, going home to families is, you know, whether you have the best or the worst family, and there might be a dynamic that, you know, activates, triggers you, and being aware of your response and how you do interact with those people is really important for you and for everyone else. You know, we forget that time is so precious, and you know, we forget that, you know, this is a beautiful time of the year, and we dread things or we really look forward to something, but trying to remain in the moment, even if you really want to say something, really become aware in that moment of, is this going to make it, is it going to help the situation, or is it going to just make me more cross and make others cross, or, you know, so just
Mm,
breathe. And the breath I recommend to everybody, breathing in that moment. Go to the bathroom, sit on the toilet and think, I'm really pissed off now. So and so said something and I ain't happy about it. Just breathe, check in with yourself. How am I feeling? Okay, I'm annoyed. And name it. Name what you're feeling in that moment and think, okay, it's just a thought. I don't have to get attached to it. And the mind will try and intellectualize things, but
Mm,
your
mm,
body, it's felt. So they're connected, of course, but it's different. So just taking a moment to pause and say, okay, it's going to be fine. I'm going to enjoy the day now and just checking in with yourself, literally.
mm,
So that would be my advice for
mm.
coming into the Christmas period because I personally have to do it a lot. And, I'd say my family do. I'd say everyone, that it's just being a human with those you love and those that know
Mm.
you. And
Yeah, I suppose we'll go back again just for briefly for a minute on the Christmas period. And if your sort of go-to in the past has always been to be the people pleaser, you will be in an environment where there'll be people around you and you will be absorbing their energies. So it's about like, I don't think that she looks too happy. I'd say that he's not too happy either. I'd say they're going to borrow. I would have mentioned that's going to happen. And then before you know it, you're getting caught up in it and the head gets busy. So, because you're trying to make everybody happy, it's okay to stand back and take a breath and say, I'm actually taking myself out of this. I don't have to fix everybody.
no,
It's not my responsibility to fix all of them today or tomorrow or the day before Christmas, because you're going through a period of Christmas now. So it's about being calm and being, as you said, the breathing is fantastic. And to know that it's not your responsibility to make the world happy, a happier place. You've just got to make sure that you're okay.
yeah. And you mentioned there fixing everybody. You
Fixing everybody's a problem.
can't fix anybody. And
No,
that is a fact. And I'm really, really like you cannot fix nor make anyone else happy. Like you cannot,
absolutely
only
not.
the individual can fix
Mm,
themselves and they can make themselves happy. And for a people pleaser, that's really hard because you might be really susceptible to moods and be like, oh God,
mm,
you might have opened a present and they think, oh
mm,
Christ, they don't like it. And you want to instantly
mm,
save them.
mm, mm,
Just again noticing, okay,
mm,
that's
mm.
how they feel, and just really
Lead with.
becoming aware of those moments that you bought them a nice gift and they might not like it, but that's okay. It's the gesture that counts, so really
Mm,
speaking to yourself in those moments is really useful,
it is.
you know
It really, really is. And if nothing else comes out of the self-awareness journey and the noticing, it's about being able to take that moment again. I'm always saying it, and I think that we're both onto it. That moment of precious pause where we
Mm,
say, I am going to breathe and I'm going to give myself one moment here. I'm going to practice it all over Christmas to precious pause and say, I'm okay. And they're okay too. And even if they're upset, they're used to being like that because that's their style, but it's not mine. So I don't need to jump in there and change anything. I'm okay. And that's important.
and I think as well, if you're visiting family, give yourself like a set time to leave, let's say, or
Mm.
you know if it does get uncomfortable. I mean, it could be the best day ever, where I'm always going from like what if,
Just in
but
case.
just in case,
Yeah.
just have these little things just that are available
Mm.
that they
To
have.
break the cycle is very important, isn't it? To break that sort of, you're in this sort of vibe, you know what I mean? It's
Mm,
important to break it. Walk away and break the cycle. Don't stay in there and wait for historically what happened before or what's happening in your body now, this trigger from before. So it's important to break it and walk away. You're
mm,
you're allowed to walk away. You're not, as they say, you're not a tree. You're not rooted in the ground. You can actually use your legs and walk.
mm.
You
And it's
know.
interesting because most people are like, oh, I'll get over it. It's only a day. I can,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
but
Mm,
actually, you're then enabling the behavior, or
mm,
you're allowing it, and then you might go home, drink a bottle of wine, and feel shit
mm.
because
Yeah, that's right.
you've not actually stood up or challenged that piece in the moment. You've actually
Absolutely.
allowed it to go on, and then who's going to wake up the next day with a banging headache because you've
That's
downed
right.
a bottle of wine because you've saved the piece. So
Yes,
it's
yes. And they
it's
don't.
then
They're fine. Like they're actually fine.
and probably none the wiser.
Mm.
So it's really
Otherwise,
again, checking in with yourself. Should I say this? Yeah, it feels right. I'm going to say it. You
mm.
know, for good and bad.
Good
For
and good
all of
and
it.
bad.
I
Good
kind
and
of
bad.
sound like quite negative, and I don't mean to,
Mm,
but it's
mm, 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 mm.
it's those
Being
moments.
it's being measured really and strategic. And these words are kind of, they sound as if they're very practiced and very, unauthentic, but they're actually really more authentic than being, responding very quickly and giving everything of yourself to everybody. To stand back with that precious pause and decide, you know, how is this whole thing sitting with me right now? And I am going to take that moment and I'm going to respond in a way that's going to work best for me.
Mm,
So that's the whole key really here, isn't it, for Christmas?
mm,
I was listening to Dr. Richard Hogan with Brendan O'Connor, and I don't know, did you hear it? It was really good actually. And he spoke
mm,
about that and he said, what do you do with people you don't get on with and they start acting the maggot around Christmas? And
mm,
Richard Hogan said you actually have to pull them up, because if you don't pull them up, as exactly what you said, Siobhan, you're walking away feeling like, Jesus, what happened there? Like, I
yeah,
was thrown under the bus. So even though it might cause a little bit of unease, at least it's said by
yeah.
putting it back in a person saying, what did that actually mean for you to say that to me? So it's about taking back your own power always.
Absolutely. That's a great point, Kathy. And I didn't see that. I must listen to it. But I
Mm.
think, well, depending on how you operate, like some people might not ever challenge something. So depending on the person, it can be so liberating just to say, actually, would you mind not bringing that up this?
Exactly,
Or
exactly,
and then you're like,
exactly.
okay, I've challenged that. I've made my feelings quite clear. But to
Mhm.
walk away and think, I wish I'd said that, and that only addles you. It drives you
It
mad because
it
you
does. It gets you it
said it.
gets your head busy, and you walk away feeling so uneasy. So by again, it goes back to the communication and the confidence and the communication and the authenticity you have with yourself first.
Mm,
To be able to say those simple, and I mean, his advice and our advice would always be the same. Not to get emotionally entangled in it. Just stick to the facts or friends. Why
mm,
did you say that? Or what did that mean for you to say that to me? Put it back. And then, the person has to either say it again. Another one that he says is a great one. No, he did this another time. I actually heard him saying it another time. Can you just repeat that again, please? I didn't hear you right the first time. And I
brilliant.
mean, when somebody's acting, a little bit bitchy or they're saying things they shouldn't say, and when they have to repeat it, you'd be surprised at how much they can squirm.
Yeah.
All of a sudden, their confidence looks a little bit different, you
Mm.
know?
And another thing is when people, that's a great one. And can you just, I didn't understand what you meant by that. Can you just
Yes, that's a
repeat that?
great
That's
one.
brilliant.
Can we unpack that one?
Yeah.
It's great.
But when people use humor, this is something that I was around a lot.
Mm.
When someone uses humor, but it's still quite nasty,
Oh, yeah, of
it's
course.
not funny and it lands exactly how
Mm,
words are portrayed. So just because you're using humor, it's not
mm, mm.
acceptable. Oh, it was a joke,
Yes,
get over it. It's like,
yeah,
I'm
yeah.
not getting over it because
No,
number
that's it.
one,
That's it.
you
Yeah.
need to go back to comedy school. And number two, it's just not funny. So what did you mean by that? Like,
Yes,
please repeat what you meant because
yes,
that's not,
yes.
that wasn't funny.
Yeah, that's it. And you know what? Like that's exactly what came up with Dr. Richard Hogan when he mentioned it with the Brendan O'Connor about humor, and he said it's important to say, but I didn't consider that funny.
Yeah.
What is funny about that?
Mm,
So like you're not arguing with anybody, but you are standing up for your own individual rights and your voice to be heard, your authentic self, your superpower to come to the fore. You don't want to cause trouble on Christmas Day or Christmas Eve or Stephen's Day or New Year, but you're coming into a new awareness, a new noticing, and your voice is starting to get stronger.
mm.
That's the idea, isn't it?
Get it. And what's that phrase? Everyone has a place at the table, apart from the
Everyone
fun
has
at
a place
Christmas.
to table.
But knowing that you're equally belonging there as everyone else. So using your voice in those moments is crucial because you belong there. We're coming together
Mm,
to be, more conscious of everyone else than yourself, again, is a disservice to everyone involved. So at the
100%.
table, speak how you feel with confidence and grace. And it doesn't have to be aggressive or,
Mm,
abrupt. It can
mm,
be very much, anchored in this is how I feel. And can you
mm, mm.
explain a bit more on that?
And I'd like to just share something here that if there is an unspoken word
Mm,
and if there is a feeling of unease, everybody notices it.
yeah.
I mean, if it's not said, it's not that it's gone unnoticed. It's just that people
Mhm.
get uncomfortable and are able to bottle it up and suck it down, But
Yeah.
when somebody has the sort of the grit and the resilience to stand up and say whatever we've been saying there, like that wasn't funny, or can you repeat that, please? Or I didn't quite hear you. Can you explain that to me again? You're saying it in a very dignified way, but it takes the pressure off everybody else around because they say, this is going to be actually aired now. It's
Mm,
not going to be left in the ether as something that we're all sensing, but nobody says anything.
Mm.
That
And
is such an uncomfortable thing to be around.
absolutely, Kathy. And I
Mm,
really love this point because I'm going to share this. I worked in a school
mm,
in the city, and by God, they
mm.
said it as it was, and it was on
Good,
the
good,
TV
good.
out there.
Mm,
They like kick the living
mm,
life out of each other, but it was
mm,
finished. And then I
mm,
worked in a different place, and everything was behind everyone's back, all
mm,
faces.
mm,
And I thought, wow, it's so interesting because once
mm,
it's out there, it's out there.
mm,
However, it's put out there, some people get angry, some people just say it, but
mm,
it's dealt with quicker, a lot quicker than
mm,
this underhanded behind each other's back because like you
mm.
said very clearly, it's felt. You can
Of
feel it.
course it is.
So
Well,
it's
it's what they call dishonest harmony.
mm,
And the word dishonest harmony kind of wraps it up in a bow, really, doesn't it? I mean, what is dishonest harmony? It's everybody playing a game while they're sort of half shooting an eye at each other, saying, "How is she taking?" It's just not comfortable for anybody. When it's called out, even if it caused a little bit of a rumble, so what? At
mm,
least it's said.
mm, yeah.
So I suppose we're coming to the end of our podcast
We are.
time.
I think we might have gone over, Kathy.
Yeah, but sure, what about it? Isn't it great to be able to do it and we love it? So
Absolutely.
we've said it before, I'll say it again, that we will leave our, cathyoreillycoaching at gmail.com and yours.
Siobhan Walsh at, oh no, Siobhan, Siobhan Walsh coaching at gmail.com.
Yeah. So we'll take any questions you'd like us to look at. If you send any queries to us, we will definitely have a look at those and we'll come at it from a different, Siobhan will come at it from her side and how she would look at it, and I'll come at it from my side and how I'd look at it as a coach. And that might give you a few little different perspectives of how you cope with things around Christmas. So what are we going to look at the next day, Siobhan? What's our plan? It's around it,
I'm not,
or isn't our next plan going to be around triggers around Christmas?
yeah, we can go more into that
Yeah,
for
yeah,
sure. Yeah, for
yeah.
sure. I was going to say something there, it's gone out of my head.
Hmm.
Clearly not important. Yeah. So thank you so much, Kathy. And thank
Thank
you
you very
everyone
much,
for
Siobhan.
listening today. And yes, we'll be back next week with
Yeah.
episode 3
Episode
of
3, two
Two
coaches,
Coaches, One
one
Couch.
couch.
Oh, Kathy, you're a superstar. Thank you
Superstar.
so much.
Okay,
And
same to you, Siobhan. You're brilliant.
if anyone has any questions, like you rightly said, and on Instagram as well,
Yeah,
an email. So Siobhan Walsh Coaching and Kathy O'Reilly Coaching.
yeah. You'll get us on Instagram. Sure, we're always on that too. And you can private message us on that. We'll be delighted to hear from you.
Yeah. Because like that, like we said last week, it's a place where people can ask whatever they want. This is a supportive
Mm,
platform for people.
100%. Yeah.
Yeah. Where it's all shared and aired
Okay.
and
Oh,
all welcome.
all welcome. Exactly, Siobhan.
Brilliant, Kathy. Go on. Thank you so much.
Okay.
We'll see you all next week.
Next week, please God. Talk
Take
to you then.
care. Bye.